I'm recording this now so that I can put it on YouTube for those who don't want to chas v'shalom use Facebook. Alright. Really, these pictures is more like for attention because really we're just doing sugyas that aren't specifically sukkah related. So, here we go. We just said yesterday that according to Rabbi Yehuda, we could not work out a way to learn out from the Torah the thing about 10 tefachim being a mechitza. And we ended up saying, El Rabbi Yehuda Hechaz Gemiri La. We're at the bottom of Hayom Beis. The Amar Rabbi Chia Bar Ashi Amar Rav. Rabbi Chia Bar Ashi says, in the name of Rav, that there are three main categories we're going to say, which are halach l'mesh misinai, shi'urin, chatzitzin, u'mechitzin, halach l'mesh misinai. Shi'urin, the sizes, Rashi says, let's see. Okay. Shi'urin shel isurin kagayin kazayas l'chol achilas iser. Not right. It's forbidden to eat a kazayas of most things. That are also v'kakaisav as Yom Kippurim and Yom Kippur not to eat a size of a date, which Daf Yomi people will recognize from Yuma. Chatzitzin shachatzitza paiselis b'tzvila, toveling in the mikvah with something blocking between you and the water. U'mechitzin hilchas mechitza, the walls, and that's what Rabbi Yehuda will come on to. Frak the Gemara, shi'urin deiraisen inhu, shi'urin armina Torah, d'chsev eretz chito sa'ira v'gefen us'eina v'rimoin eretz zeis shemen u'dvash v'omer Rav Chanan kol ha'pasuk hazeh shi'urin ne'emar. All the different things in this pasuk are going to be teaching you a halacha of sizes for Torah-related concepts. Like Rashi, sure, Ne'emar ha'pasuk medaber b'shvach Eretz Yisrael, she'afilu b'divrei Torah tzrichim l'shar b'perei seha yisurin shebetorah. Eretz Yisrael is cool and special because, drum roll, you need to use its fruits to figure out the amounts for various isurim / chiyuvin. Chit lebeis hamanuga, wheat for the leprous house. Titnan, state in Mishnah, someone comes into a house that has tsara'as, v'kelav al kseifav, and he's holding his spare clothing, v'sandalav dabaisav biyadai, and he's holding his sandals or rings. So those are all things that came into the house. Hu v'hein tmein miyad. Had he been wearing them, it would have been different. But since he's holding them, it's like he came into the house, and separately his ring entered the house, and separately his sandals did. Pshing! They're in a house that is closed due to tzara'as. Therefore, they're all going to be tmeim. His sandals are in his hand, and his ring is not on his finger. It's in his hand. He's holding it. Achuzin biyadai. Tabaisav dumya desandalav. Tmein miyad b'lei shehiyah blam tuma t'chsev ha'abol habayis yitma v'chuluhu boy el habayis krina b'hu. All of those things have come into the house. Once I'm anyways not really using the screen for this, I suppose I can make myself bigger. Ooh, okay, lots more of me, except the webcam is so bad, it doesn't make such a difference, but okay. So, however, Haya Lavush Kelev, if he was wearing his clothing that we're talking about here, Visandala Viraglav, his sandals were on his feet, V'tabaisav be'etzba aisav, and he has rings on his finger, Hu Tomei Miyad, he is instantly impure. And they are tahar unless he's there long enough to eat half a loaf of bread. The reason for this is Rashi says, they're qualified now as his clothing. Hu tamei miyad Rashi didn't say those words, that's the V'gomer. We have a drasha. It sounds like someone who eats in the house is going to be tamei, someone who lies down in the house is going to be tamei. But how do you know? Is that only if you do both? Riba. that because this is being marbe, it's including something else. Rashi explains. It says, wash his clothing, right? And if anyways we're going to be marbe everything, not just eating or lying down, why even mention eating? Aha! Litain shi'ur l'shoichev. That it's kedei achila. She'ein ha'ton kibus b'god mat she'yeshe kedei achila v'gufay tamim miyad. Doch iksiv v'al bal habayis yitma. V'leiksiv kibus b'godim. V'eichel b'bayis einu shoy kedei achila yichabes b'godav. So anything that's ba'el habayis, he is tameh. But his clothing and other accessories that he's wearing, it would only be tameh if he was in the house long enough to eat half a loaf of bread. What kind of bread? One made of Israeli wheat. Achilas pras Rashi chatzi kikor shiur chachamim v'asel nabazin she'suudos la'erev detam be'erevin chetzeves hamanuga. And the Gemara continues, what kind of bread? Pas chitin, wheat bread, which takes slightly quicker to eat. V'lei pas not barley bread. Mesev, when someone is sitting down to eat, and therefore focusing on it, which also goes faster. V'eicha and eating it with a dip, which also makes it go a little faster. Paschitin Rashi, Sheisamu etes mishel shihiyasa, not shahisa. Shihiyasa muetes mishel sa'irim. Meisev down derech ha'chila, mishum meisev hu asik ba'chila ve'ina tarbet var machirim. Okay, so that's where chita comes into this. That's wheat. Sa'ira d'tanan. Where does barley come into this? Etzem kisa'ira, a bone the size of a barley kernel. Metame b'mago v'masa ve'ena metame ba'ayel. So if it was smaller than a barley kernel, the bone would not be metame, I think, at all. If it's the size of a barley kernel, then touching it or moving it would make the person tameh. Because a mace is from a dead person. It's only going to be tameh in an oil if you're going to have a full spine. Or if minion, every other. Meaning, really, you would need a. How much would it be? Is it a certain amount of bones you would need for tumas oihel? And if you're less than that amount, the only way the bones would be tameh if they would be an entire skull or a spinal cord or most of the bones or the majority of them in volume, which could be less than the shear for tameh if they're from a preemie. Le'aleinu. Zot the Gemara weiter, Geffen Mashiach Rubayra. She says, "Kedei revius yain the nazir." We're going to learn out the chiyah for a nazir, a revius of wine, which sounds tautological. Like, how does that teach us anything? We're going to learn out a revius of yayin for a nazir from grapes. What are you learning out from grapes exactly? Aha! Revius yayin b'shar surei nazir diklaman da'amr b'misachas nazir derchatzanim. There's an opinion which says dechatzanim, that the grape peels, vilulavin, and tendrils that are starting to grow on the vine, ve'olin and leaves, mitztar from the shir of yayin, shem yitnim the kais malay yayin, not sheitzim in yayin, that with volume displacement, if you could push out a revius amount of wine, you'd be chayiv for eating those things. Now, what about this is specifically grape eat? Can't you do displacement with water? You can, says Rashi, but it's not going to be the same. You're going to have a different meniscus because of different surface tension. Says Te'ena Mashiaruba. Back in the Gemara, Te'ena Gregares Oitzos Shabbos. The amount for being chayav for bringing something out from Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah on Shabbos would be a gregaris amount, which is a dried fig. To gregaris Oitzos Shabbos Shiru B'chol Ha'ichlin. Rima in pomegranates it's not. If a mishnah calls clay bali batim, any typical homeowner's container, if it has a hole in it that's big enough for some fruit to fall out, it's still a usable kli for something larger like a pomegranate. And if it has such a gaping hole, even pomegranates would fall out, then it would be tahor because it's useless. So kol klei balei batim shiuran kirimaynim. Dr. Ashi, kol klei balei batim shiuran binikveyem kirimayin dachi nakiv dachi nikiv kwenzi rimayin shem kli love makabel toma lefi shabalabayis chasal kelov. He doesn't want to just throw things out. Uchshu maitzi zeisim umishtamish by rimaynim, and if olives would fall out, he would put pomegranates into it. And this is all klei balei bayis, things which are somebody's personal stuff. Aval klei umanch amidlimacher tarbedekav koshu. If it's something which is meant for sale, even a small hole in it would make it tahor because it's not sellable. Eretz zeis shemen. Eretz shekol shiureha kezeisim, a land that all of its shiurim, all of the sizes for mitzvahs of eating or not eating, are like olives. Kol shiureha sakadaitach. The Gemara is asking, wait, everything? What about the ones you just said, which aren't? That most of the shiurim are kezeisim. So Rashi wrote shiurim kezeisim mace unavela, which is not just for eating; it's also for tuma. And finally, Dvash kikaiseves hagasa b'yom kippurim, that the shear for eating on Yom Kippur is the size of a plump date. Dvash kumina misika korean dash utmar mina misika hein. Kaiseves is a tmar l'Yom Kippurim. Dliksev be'achila. It doesn't say b'Yom Kippur don't eat. It says afflict. Ela asher lo seunah. Anyone who does not afflict themselves. Midi dimi yasev daiteu mafkale me'in, or something which takes away the affliction. Okay, so this has been a very, very long kasha, which the Gemara had said, Shi'ur and Arlachom Mishmisinai were asking, what do you mean? They're from this pasuk. Alma deresinenhu. To which the Gemara says back, V'tizbara. Really? You think so? Shi'ur Miksivi. Does it say actually in the psukim anything about the Shi'urim? About the size? Miksivi, is it Rashi Miksivi Klum? Miksivi klum ksiv b'Torah etzim kasa'ira ubeis hamanuga b'chitim v'chein klum. Just because there's a remez, you can be praising Eretz Yisrael about it, but we don't actually see the numbers. Ella hilchasanenehu ukras machta ba'alma. It's halachah mishmisinai, and the pasuk is an asmachta, and the Maseres Shas brings down that in brachas the Gemara says Ela midurabanan ukras machtvalma, which is a big statement to be saying that the shiurim are durabanan only. Okay, it also said that chatzitzin are deraisa. Sorry, the chatzitzin are lachol mishmisina. And the Gemara asks chatzitzin deraisa ninu dechsiv verachatz. So it says espesara here, but I think it's verachatz b'mayim espesaroi. Nothing should be in between him and the water. To which the Gemara answers, is talking about hair. If a single hair is tied in a single knot around itself and pulled tight, that is so tight that is a guaranteed chatzitza. Shalosh einon chatzitzais, 3 hairs together tied around themselves in a knot, is loose enough, it's not a chatzitza. And shtayim, 2 is in between. Ini idea. So Rashi, nima achas kshura, umakbet alav, and if it bothers him, chatzitzas, demi hatik shaper, v'le'eli be'mai, come on, because we don't know, miyutay hamakbet. Shalosh einon chatzitzais, v'shaser kasha, v'lemi hatik shaper, v'le'eli be'mai. To which the Gemara asks, Sayrei nami de'iraisa ninu, his hair is also de'iraisa, d'chsev rachatz es b'sarai v'mayim, u'darshan from the es hatafel b'sarai, even something which is secondary to his actual flesh would also need to be dunked. Zok Rashi, es hatafel b'sarai yeh b'mayim, hatafel hadavak, something that's attached to it, u'mayniu sayrei, that would be his hair, To which the Gemara answers, and now I'm going to shrink myself again. Ki asoi hilchasa l'Rebbe Yitzchak. T'amar Rebbe Yitzchak. And this is what we did in Eruvin also. I drew a weird chart, and it worked. So here we go. All right, and here is our canvas. Whoa. Wait a minute. Okay, so the way that we did this last time was all right. Let's start off by making a line over here. And actually, let's make it a little bit farther over. All right, we're gonna make a line over here, and a line over here, and a line over here, and a line over here. And, okay, hello Abba. Okay, so we are right now on the top of Vav Amud Beis. Just turning the page to Omer Rabbi Yitzchak Devar Torah Samidai Raisa over here. Let's talk about what would be a chatzitza for going to the mikvah. A chatzitza is something on the person's skin, and therefore when he's in the water, it's in between him and the water, and there are several permutations here we can talk about. We can talk about whether it's covering most of him or not, and we can also talk about whether or not it bothers him. So, let's write that down. I'm pretty sure I can write in Hebrew over here. Let's see. Let's see what we can do. Yes, okay. We can talk about Rubai versus Miutai. Without so many space. Oops. What? Okay. Yeah. Alright. So now we got Rubai versus Miutai, and we're going to have Makpid and Einai Makpid. I think we're going to have to make the canvas slight. I'm going to increase the width of this a tiny bit, just because that way we'll have enough room to write the words Makbid and Einai Makbid. Okay. So yeah, let's write. Actually, we should do it over here. Mak. Come on. Makpid. And Einai Makpid. Makpid and Einai Makpid, which would be, oh, oops, try that again. All right, so we got Makpid and Einai Makpid. So the guy who is Makpid means that he is bothered by the chatzitza on him. So now we're going to draw our stick figure. And he is going to look like this. Okay, So this is our stick figure guy. And he is going to come in 2 different flavors. He is, let's see. There's going to be when he's makbid and enoi makbid. Makbid means that he is bothered by the chatzitza that's on him. Makbid looks like this. Actually, no. Let's see. No, he looks too happy. Okay, yeah, that's makbid. He is not happy about the chatzitza, as opposed to this guy who doesn't care at all. Okay, so now we got makbid man and enoi makbid man, and now we have, so the top line is makbid, the bottom line is enoi makbid, and we're also going to talk about rubai and miutai. So the chatzitza, the guy is going to be going into a mikvah. Let's see. All right. Unfortunately, there is radioactive waste on him, or something like that. Here. I'm going to make a new layer over this and make it semi-transparent. That way we can see him and we can see the goop. Alright, so unfortunately most of him has this stuff on him. That didn't look so good. Okay, this guy is very displeased about this. It's covering him everywhere except for his arm, basically. That is definitely rubai. The same thing would be true for the miutai guy, except that he doesn't care at all. And this is not the miutai, this is the enoi makbid guy. Hang on, let's get this in the right place on the screen. And when it comes to miutai, that would mean that there's only a small amount on him. But if it's makbid, he's bothered by it, otherwise not. So, Devar Torah, Dom Rabbi Yitzchak, Devar Torah, Rubai Umakbid Alav Chaytzeitz, if it's the majority of him that's covered with it, and it bothers him, which would only be that top corner case, Chaytzeitz, that would be a Chatzitza. V'she'enei Makbid Alav Enei Chaytzeitz, if it doesn't bother him, even though it's rave of him, it's not. V'gazru and the midik zera, that it would be a Chatzitza anyways, Arubai She'enei Makbid, on this one over here, Rubai She'enoi Makbid, Mishum Rubai HaMakbid, because it's similar to this case, because it's Raiv. Ve'al, they also make Zera Al Miutai HaMakbid, on a little bit that bothers him, Mishum Rubai HaMakbid, because of this. To which the Gemara, so just to highlight this, making a new layer over here. And let's outline this. Alright, so Mid'iraisa Rubai Umakbid. Alright, that's going to be Minat Torah. The case Minat Torah that's going to be a problem for Tevila is Rubai Umakbid. However, there's going to be a Gzeira Dirabanan. What's the best way to do this? I wonder if this will work. And that did not work at all. Okay, let's try it. Let's try it this way then. We're going to make a Gzeira D'Rabbanan, which I'm going to do in a color which is similar to red, but not completely red. That would be these cases. Rubai, that's Einai Makbid, and Miyutai Hamakbid. Hamakbid Eitzel Chaveiroi. Not really. Okay. So now the Gemara is going to ask, let the Gzeira extend to the final one. A little bit that you don't care about. So make a Gzeira on Miyutai, the part that is only a little bit of Inveinamak, it doesn't bother him. Why should you make a Gzeira? Because it's like Miyutai Hamakbid, it's a little bit, just like that little bit. Inami or Mishim Rubai She'enim Makbid, because of Rubai She'enim Makbid, which the Gemara says, Higuv Gzeira, Vanan Neka and Venigzer Gzeira L'Gzeira. We're going to make, both those orange cases are themselves a Gzeira, up to the red, Rubai Hamakbid. We're going to make a Gzeira because to protect a Gzeira? We're not going to do that. So Rashi, Rashi says it's talking about hair specifically, but it would also, I think this would also apply. Taisus is getting into this over here, okay? If it's miutai, sorry, if it's in a makbid, even though it's rive, it's batal because he's going to leave it there. V'gazar aruba she'enoi makbid, hayel v'havi rive, dami makes us a chatzis there. So about mutai hamakbid, hayel v'dami la lebak pada. And I'm saying it is a v'chol gzeira lav alach u'mish misinai hu el gzeira midir abanon v'ruba hamakbid l'chudei hu dahavi alach u'mish misinai. Okay. Mechitzen, the Gemara continues, Shiurin. Shiurin mechitze, Shiurin chatzitze mechitze, and Halach L'Mesh Misinai. We spoke out why Shiurin are just Halach L'Mesh Misinai. We spoke out why chatzitzen are. And now we're going to talk about mechitzen. So, Mechitzen Hada Amran. We said Hada Amran L'Gaiva Asara. Ha Nichla Rabbi Yehuda. That's good for Rabbi Yehuda, who couldn't learn that many psukim. Ha Nichla Rabbi Yehuda L'Nafkalei Nikarai Itzrich Hilchasa El Rabbi Meir Michael Meir. Are you going to say about Rabbi Meir? Gemara answers Kiyasai Hilchasa. What's the halacha Mishim Sinai going to do for other things that are in Mechitzen? Le good ve lavud ve daifen akuma. Like Joshua look good, may God, where you have to extend a partition in halacha. I good aches, whether you're dragging it down. I asik or up. Kaganachsadr bebika darminam ba pitikar yerd v'saisem. The lavud pachas me gimel daifen akuma pachas me dalad amais. Okay. And now we are back to sukkah stuff. So let's take a nice default sukkah. I think I'll take this one that is really too short because that's pretty easy to rectify. Okay, now the sukkah is a very nice height. And a sukkah that does not have 3 walls is also not going to be kosher, not going to be kshera. So, for example, over here, this only has 2 walls. So, we have a brisa. You need 2 full walls. The 3rd wall only has to be a tefach. And it will be kosher. Rabbi Shimon says, no. Shalosh kel chasan, or a vias afilu tefach. No. You're going to need 3 full walls. And then hang on, I just want to see how thick my walls are over here. Okay. Just doing this for consistency, really. The fourth wall, is the one that needs to be a minimum of a tefach. Okay? That's Rabbi Shimon. And let's contrast that with the Chachamim. By having them next to each other. Alright, so we have the Chachamim's sukkah, and we have Rabbi Shimon's minimum sukkah over here. Okay. And the Gemara wants to know, B'mai kamiflagi, kami palgi, if you want to be correct. Rabbanan sarvi yesh em l'masayres. The Chachamim say you're going to go by the way that things are read in the Torah. Rabbi Shimon sarvi yesh em l'mikra. Rabbi Shimon says you go by the way things are written. Okay, sagt Rashi. Meaning that they need to be walls that are touching. The minimum. You go by the tradition of reading it. Oh, did I say this bad? No, Yesh in the Masur is the way that it's written. That's the mother, the main thing to go with. Who nikra? I think it's called matr. I believe it's called matris, something in Latin for a mother, I believe. So Rabbanan Savish in the Maseres, the Chachamim go with the traditional way it's written, and in the Torah, the word sukkos, even though it's read sukkos, which is plural, it's written sukkas, which would be singular. Besukas, harikan arba. You should dwell in sukkos. So that's sukas written as if it's one, another one written like it's one, another one written out like it's two. Dachal the gufe. Gotta take away one of them because it can't just tell you to dwell in without telling you. So we need one of them just for the din of sukkah. Dachal the gufe pashulu tlasa. All that's left is three. And shtaim kel chasan. Two of them need to be full walls. The tradition, Moshe Sinai comes, and reduces what the third one needs to be, and just needs to be a tefach. Great. Rabbi Shimon Sarveshim the Mikra. Rabbi Shimon says you're going to go with the way that it is read. Besukais, Rikan Sheish. Delchad Karlakufe. You're going to knock out one of them just for actually the mitzvah, which would actually knock out two because it was a besukais, but you still have four. Pashaluhu Arba. You have an obligation to have four walls. Shalish gel chasan. Three of them would be full. The halacha mishnah is what's limiting the fourth wall to only needing to be a tefach. That's the first way the Gemara presents the machlekes. Basukais teshvu yeshu basukais kiva sukais heshavti chad mali utrein chaserin. That's Rashi. Besukas mash machada legufe dein darshan tchilais pasuk namarishan enu l'drasha el mashmaya asa hilchasa the minan leilach mesh misinai lahachi nami yitmar leilchas al mechitzais the migra el shlishis teifin sukol lo miskile betefach v'bois ema. Or another way to say it, the Gemara is saying is maybe everyone goes with the way that it is read, and everyone has basukais. One opinion would say that you need a pasuk for schach. Another one is you don't need it. In which case, so you have a pasuk basukais, but you're going to need to say sukas another time to teach you schach, that it's something which has schach on top of it. And that would leave you with three. That lachal meshmisnei will bump down to two and the tefach. And Rabbi Shimon presumably will be saying that you don't need a pasuk for schach, so you have four that gets bumped down to three and one that's a tefach. And then the machlekes is Marsa v'schacha b'yikra, Marsa v'schacha loy b'yikra. Machlekes is whether you would need a pasuk for schach or whether that is obvious, understood, intrinsic to a sukkah. Like Rashi schach loy b'yikra, demi mashmeusa degufei nafka, the sukkah b'schach loy mikarya. Another way to say it, if you want, I can say maybe everyone goes to the way that it is written, in which case you only have 4, right? Basukas, that's 1, Basukas, that's another 1, and Basukais, that's another 2, so that's 4. Is the halacha, so the first one is being taken up legufe, and that means we're only going to have 2 words left. One of them is singular, one of them is plural, that gives us 3. And now the Gemara is suggesting that Chachamim say Halach Mishmi Sinai downgrades the third wall to merely a tafach, and Shimon says Halach Mishmi Sinai is adding a 4th wall of a tafach. Another way we could say it, if you want, maybe everyone holds that the Halach Mishmi Sinai is taking away from the total count. And meaning that wall only needs to be a tafach. V'yesh in the Masaris, maybe you're going to go with the way that it's written. Basukas, basukas, basukais. So that's only 4, and the first one is anyways just teaching you what's going on. The machlekes is whether you are able to use the first one for a drasha. Mar saver b'shimon would hold darshan tchilais that we do darshan the first one, so therefore you have basukas, basukas, basukais, that's 4. Halach l'mishmi Sinai bumps it down to 3 and 1 wall of a tafach. Umar saver the chum say ein darshan tchilais. You're not going to darshan the first one, therefore all you're left with is basukas and then basukais, which is going to give you 3 with halach l'mishmi Sinai bumping it down to a tafach. Okay. Period. So Rashi darshan tchila is the drasha avlu arba. Rav Matana Amar time of Rav Shimon Meihacha. Rav Masna says Rav Shimon is actually learning out from somewhere else. We have a pasuk from before Reb Zera mentioned it. V'sukkah tiel etzel yomam meichayrev. A sukkah protecting with shade by day from heat. Ul machser ul mistar. A refuge, a shelter, mizerem umimatar, from precipitation, from squall and rain. And if your sukkah is only going to be 2 walls like that, it's not enough of a protection. So Rabbi Shimon says a sukkah is something which has to be more ensconcing. So Rashi, the machzal mistav gaimer v'layar b'mechitzas lav machzal mizerem usharach meishiv es hazerem derech teven aparutz. The wind's going to blow it in through the open wall, but the Halach Mishmi Sinai is going to bump that last wall down to only being a tefach. Where are you going to put that last tefach, which I already did in these pictures? Oh, Marav Amina Keneged Hayotzei. Keneged Hayotzei. Makayim Shamachitza Kala Be'ezer Shirtzei. Emashtayim Mizrach Tzvaynis Yaseh HaTefach B'Seif HaTzvaynis. Yeah, this is one of those Rashis that I find difficult to follow. Rashi's saying, Im Hashtayim Mizrachis Tzvaynis, if the 2 that were there already were on the northeast, we have one on the north and we have one on the east. Yaseh HaTefach B'Seif HaTzvaynis B'Mektzah Admirevs, do it over here, the way that I did it in this picture. Or instead of doing it over here, we can take it away. And Rashi's saying, Rashi, right? You could either do it over here. Or you could do it maravis b'tzadarim, that you can do it coming from towards the west side on the south, which would be like this. So Rashi's saying you have a choice, right? You could either do it over here, or you could do it over here. Right? Simple. Kishmak. Except you put it but where the wall is, put it where it would be sticking out of where the wall had ended. What just happened? Okay. Amri layer of Kana Varas the Ravi. Amadano connected Reish Tar. Wait a minute, why don't you do like a Reish Tar? Shasik Rav, and Rav was silent, and this is going to be tomorrow's daf, and I see looming ahead after this large daf the great Daf Ches, which will be awesome and epic, and that might take some time. Okay, I'm going to stop for tonight. Shkoyach Rabotai.